some technical issues, and April had to take care of some things, and so she's going to join us at another time. So we're going to interview Miss Lauren Banks and Mr. Wendell Tabb. This is Theater Talk Live right here on Facebook. And so all my co-hosts is Michelle Saunders. How you doing, Michelle?
Hello, I'm good.
Okay, and Mr. Wendell Tabb from Hillside High School.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well.
And Miss Lauren Banks, how you doing from City on the Hill?
Hi.
All right, and Hillside High School alum.
That's what I thought you were going to say, from Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, from Durham, North Carolina. All right, Michelle, you can take
it. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. You know, we've been doing theater talk now for the past couple of weeks, and what we like to do is interact with those who are, you know, really taking part in theater, various areas of theater. And so today we have, you know, Mr. Wendell and Miss Lauren, who is a graduate, an alum of Hillside High. And I think it's a great opportunity to bring the both of you together. We can talk about, you know, how everything was in high school, how, you know, how it enhanced you and helped you, you know, build your career going forward. So I'm gonna start with Mr. Wendell. Mr. Wendell, I've heard so much about you and all the amazing things that you have done. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wow, well, thank you for those kind words. I'm truly blessed to have the best family in the world, my mom, my dad, and my sisters, and all of my family members that embraced theater, embraced what I wanted to do. A lot of times you don't get that all the time, but they embraced it from the onset, because I think a lot of it was they didn't know what to expect. I'm from the country. I'm a country boy. Grew up in a small town, Lewisburg, North Carolina, and the closest thing we had to entertainment was perform in church, or, you know, kids just trying to start their own little band and just, you know, playing music and singing. So they didn't know a lot about it. I didn't know a lot about it, but I knew what I wanted to do. So as a young kid growing up, I had a passion for performing, for making people smile, and so that led me to my years at North Carolina Central University, and then on to do it for Hillside High School for the 33 years that I've been there now.
Wow, you've been there for, you said 33 years?
Yeah, this ended 33.
Okay, so I heard a little birdie, and a couple of birdies told me that you might retire. Is this true?
You said so. The bird. So
yes. So
the birdie told you that I was
that you may be retired.
What did the birdie tell you?
Retirement was in the
right.
air.
So right. Well, after, you know, with most educators, you know, they get to 30 years, and then you be like, okay, you got your 30 years now. It's time for you to go. And so I think with me, it's about the students, and because they didn't get a chance to do their last two shows, you know, I promised them that I would come back so that they could finish those shows. And that's because of the love that I have for them and the love that they have for the program. And but after 30 years, you know, with educators, there's some other things that I want to do. I want to do some film that I want my former students to direct and produce and do all that, so they can put me in some stuff.
Oh, nice. Nice. So I have a question. When you're working with your students, what do you give them to keep them motivated? Because I know that's a lot of work, a lot of dedication that goes into, you know, to being an actor. And I know it can get a little frustrating, like, oh, I don't remember my lines. Okay, I'm not getting this, all of that. Like, what do you tell them to say, hey, you got to keep going?
Yeah, you know, a great question. And my answers to questions sometimes don't seem like the right answers, or it's kind of like out the box. But my answer is that I give them hope. You know, it's the hope that they can do it. It's the hope that they can be successful in what they want to do. So that hope leads to just giving them love, giving them encouragement, giving them motivation, giving them a product, giving them the opportunity to be on stage. And so that hope for them is that they can be Lauren E. Banks, they can be April Parker Jones, they can be whoever they want to be, because that hope is always there. So I give them hope.
Wow. Okay. So with that, so Lauren, what was your interaction with Mr. Tabb? Like when you started his program, how did you feel going through the process and going all the way to the end working with Mr. Tabb?
Well, that's funny. My interaction with Mr. Tabb started before I got to Hillside because of the Hillside educational matinees that they do. Mm-hmm. And so as a student at Shepherd Middle School, Kenneth Womack took us, the students, over to Hillside for field trips. That's how I met Mr. Tabb. That's how I got to know Hillside drama. And then my father took me to see, I think, a play called Perilous Times at the Carolina Theater. Mm-hmm. And I think I met Mr. Tabb then. I met him then, and I had just started at Hillside as a freshman. And the relationship was solidified in Theater Arts 1 class, 4th period, Mr. Tabb, freshman year. We had freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in the class. And the first day of class, he said, "Who in here thinks they may want to pursue this work professionally? Raise your hand." I raised my hand. Very bold, very, very confident after having gotten a hunch that I may want to do this thing in middle school. And he said, "Well, what's your name?" And I told him my full name, Lauren Banks. And he said, Banks. I know some Bankses, Yolanda Banks. Like, yeah, that's my aunt. He said, "How about Daryl Banks?" And I was like, "That's my uncle." He said, "Well, I pledged A Phi A with your uncle, Daryl Banks, the late Daryl Banks. And I went to North Carolina Central with your aunt, and we went over to Carolina and helped pledge your father, Sherrod Banks, at Carolina for A Phi A." So in that moment, what happened is Mr. Tabb proceeded to pledge me by telling me to get on the stage in front of the whole class. And since everybody that raised their hands get on the stage, and I'm gonna give you a improv. And that was the moment, basically. That improv lasted the duration of the class. Mr. Tabb acted with us, and a class of people who were very interested to not interested at all in drama all came together, very focused, very alert, very aware of this power that was storytelling.
So we really want to know, and I know the fans who are watching this want to know, how did you get to Showtime? Well, how did that come, from high school to college to grad school to where you are now?
Well, the seed was planted in Durham, North Carolina, and then it sprouted out. I ended up going to undergrad at Howard University. And that was also at the recommendation to look into the program from Mr. Tabb.
Right.
Because at the time once I had that aha moment in class that day, I spent the duration of the next summer trying to figure out how to become an actor. I just simply put it in a search engine called Ask Jeeves. And I put in Ask Jeeves, how do you become a successful professional actor? And they told me, get a headshot, get a resume, get an agent, go train. And so the training that I discovered was to do so at either an undergraduate program or a graduate program. And so I found Howard, 4-year BFA at Howard. And then a teacher, I also had another great teacher by the name of Al Freeman, who just kind of opened up what acting was for me. And as you know, many of you know Al Freeman from
Al Freeman Jr.
Al Freeman Jr., right, from Malcolm X. He played Elijah Muhammad in what he was 73 years old and still, you know, get into class slowly but surely. He never missed a day. And the one day he missed was because he had to get LASIK eye surgery because, and he apologized to us. But ultimately, I say all of that to say the passion of my educators was helped with every building block towards Showtime. I ended up going to Yale Drama and studying and training. And then when I graduated, I found an agent, and my agent and I really worked hard on this plan that I had been cultivating since I was 14.
All right.
To see it come to fruition. And I had an audition when I came to LA to visit after graduating from grad school. And that audition is what landed me the job.
Tell us a little bit real quick about your role in City on the Hill.
City on the Hill, I play a woman named Siobhan Keys. She's an attorney and community organizer / activist. City on the Hill takes place in 1992 during what was called the Boston Miracle. And the Boston Miracle is essentially a period of time in the mid-90s that Boston was able to reduce their crime rate and homicide rate, crime rate by a large amount. And they had almost 32 months where they didn't have a young person to die in the streets from gang violence or police violence or whatever. And it was a miracle indeed. But that was because of the work on behalf of members of the clergy, pastors, community leaders, you know, and the Boston PD. And so my character is one of those members helping to bring that miracle about.
All right. And Mr. Tabb, you've sent a lot of people to Howard. You got several students there right now. What's the connection?
Well, I'm not going to do any public service announcements for my HBCUs because some of them are going to be like, well, I've been asking him to send me some students. Right. So, well, you know what? Howard is a wonderful place to go. I mean, it's a great school, but so is a lot of other HBCUs that I leave it up to the students of where it's the best fit for them. Because as an actress, you want to get the best training, and so many of the HBCUs can give you that training. But I think it's also with personality, that great fit of where you're going to go, your location, because you want to also be happy. You want to be happy where you are so that you can concentrate on your craft. I knew a lot of people at Howard University. I knew Mike Malone, the late Malone. I met Mike when I was doing an internship or fellowship at the National Endowment for the Arts. And just like I have the celebrities in the classroom, I invited celebrities over to the National Endowment for the Arts to come and talk. And so we bonded. And so Mike Malone starting being one of the founders of the Duke Ellington School of the Arts. I looked at his model as well, and I said, well, Hillside High School is going to be the Duke Ellington School of the Arts in North Carolina. And I used to talk to Mike Malone.
Wow.
And so then he said, well, send me some students. And I take people for their word. If you tell me to do something, I'll be like, now, okay, here they come. So they've been coming to Howard ever since. And so that's continued. So that's the connection.
Okay. So with you sending your students out, now that you see that your students are being successful, like, how does that make you feel? Because I know sometimes you feel like, oh man, like a proud parent.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm their parent, the parent away from home. And because their parents entrust them to me. And so I'm excited about them for the smallest things that they do. We get excited a lot of times when people do these major things and everybody's excited about them. But I'm excited when they can call me and say, Mr. Tabb, I got a call back. I'm excited for that. So anything that they do excites me because I know that they're following their passion and they're following their dream. And that's what's important, that they be happy with what they're doing.
Got you. Lauren, I have a question. So listening to Mr. Tabb and knowing that he gets excited, I know that I would if I see my students going out, and even those who are behind the scenes, because that is just as important as in front of the camera. But like, have you ever found yourself looking back on some of the lessons that you have learned with Mr. Tabb and be like, oh, I remember when he had, shared this with me or shared that with me? Do you use those nuggets to keep you going?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. I, as a student, one of the most beautiful things Mr. Tabb demanded from us was professionalism. And it's just a no nonsense policy on being professional. And professional was being prepared. Professional was taking your craft, your work, your process seriously. Being professional was respecting your peers, your fellow castmates. So I use those principles every day. There are also just quiet moments. For example, we pray before our first show. I still do that. That's part of my ritual of creating my work and opening myself up to be ready to do my best work, right? Which is a lot of times being able to get out of your own way in order to allow the spirit to move through you and the truth to move through you. So yeah. I could go.
How much of you do you put in your role, Lauren, when you are preparing?
I would, I think all of me, and then I filter out the parts that don't ring true for the character itself. When I start out with the character, I say, okay, who is this person? And I'm bringing my heart, I'm bringing my empathy, I'm bringing my sympathy, I'm bringing my own experiences, and therefore in my politics, to this person. And then I'm taking back what doesn't match with her, with my character on City on a Hill, for example. For the callback for the audition, I read it and I was very clear that we had a lot of politics and things that we shared, you know what I mean? So that was helpful, but then I'm not from Boston. I don't know that experience. So I had to go out and spend time in an Airbnb in Boston to get to know the city. So,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Have you ever been offered a role that you just was uncomfortable with?
Oh, yeah.
Could you give us like an example?
I got opportunities for other roles before City on a Hill, right?
Okay.
I didn't just take the first thing that came to me. I took the project that I believed in, that was attached to people that I believed in. So, the character can be great, but if I don't believe in the other creators on the project, that's not going to be a good working situation and relationship. If I don't believe in the network and their views and values, then I can't really trust, what that ultimate product will look like. So yeah, for example, there was a role that was offered to me, and I felt like the woman was not represented in full because it was a real character. I can't speak about it right now because the movie hasn't come out yet.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we understand.
But just the values, I think there were blind spots for the creators about who this woman was. As a Black woman, as she happened to be a sex worker, but she was demonized.
Yeah.
Just so many different things. I said, no, I can't, take that on.
Well, that's kind of like Agape, our theater project. We won't do any show, and I'll tell you right now, I'm so proud of the kids at Hillside and what Mr. Tabb does, because everything is for a general public. You're not going to see anything over there that you wouldn't want to bring your kids to. So how do you feel when you come back to Hillside and you see what Mr. Tabb is doing with these kids? I mean, just tell me, how does that make you feel?
Extremely grateful to know that I'm a part of that legacy. And then I feel the burden of leadership to to continue to make room for them because they're on the way, you know? So yeah.
And you know what, I've been with them, I think it's been 2010 since I've been shooting your shows, but all of these students, Mr. Tabb, talk to me about all these students. The whiz you just tear the whiz up, no matter how many times you do it.
Well, yeah, well, you know, since you brought up the whiz, you know, a lot of shows, I never do the same show with the same group of students. So I normally do the whiz every 6 to 7 years.
Right.
It's always going to be a brand new cast. So you don't get the chance to do the whiz twice.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you was in middle school and you came over as a munchkin from middle school. But I think for me, in selecting the shows, it's also challenging the students. I mean, doing shows that you would see on Broadway, that, you know, that it's very challenging to do, and also do shows that have a social meaning. I mean, it deals with social issues. You know, the shows that we can do, like a Once on This Island that I did Once on This Island back in the, you know, in the 90s. And, you know, I mean, we'd already done the show. And then when it went to Broadway, people was like, Once on This Island? And then my students were like, didn't Hillside do that show? We did. Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. Shows that have these significant meanings to it, that are sometimes have a revival, that our new generation of kids are like, I think I saw that in our program, that we had done a show like that. So challenging them so that they'll know that anything that's out there they can do. But I'm very serious about doing shows that also our audience, our community would take something away that is very meaningful to them. That's
Wow. I think it's amazing that you're able to create programs for the students before they go out. So as they go out, it's not unfamiliar. And that's what it seems like, how your program is preparing them to do that when they go out to the community, go out into the world of acting. It's like, okay, well, I remember this and I remember that. Is there anything different that you would give them today as time has changed, you know, the industry has changed? How do you yourself keep up, or do you feel like the basic will always remain the same?
Excellent question. You know, how does a director that's set in his ways and knows what he wants and it needs to be like this, how do you change with the times? I think it's very important that you allow the students to change. And then if you give them leadership, if you give them the empowerment of their program, they will automatically change it for you. And you can just sit, you can just ride with them. But when it comes to all this technology stuff, when I was doing the Black History show and we had to do all this technology in the show, I didn't know anything about all this technology. So I asked the students, hey, which one, y'all select somebody that's going to be open. You select somebody. But then I'm going to hold them accountable.
Okay.
It's done right. So therefore, the programs will change, as it should change with leaders. Great leaders will change it for you.
So Lauren, did he
still the message across?
I'm sorry, say it again.
And yet still get the message and the vision across. So even though leadership has changed, time has changed, you're still able to get the full message of your program across.
Right, because certain things don't change.
Right.
Lauren mentioned this, professionalism doesn't change. So as time changes, professionalism still stays the same. You're still going to be professional as time changes. Being on time doesn't change. You still need to be on time.
Right.
Making sure you are prepared. That doesn't change.
Right.
You don't stop being prepared because I got a new generation of kids. and as people say, everything's got to be fast with them. Okay, well, be fast and be professional.
Right. Because Mr. One of the guests we had was talking about, he went on set, Stephen, and that some of the people weren't prepared, and he just got upset because he said the little kids knew their lines, but the grown-ups didn't know their lines, and that's not right. And Lauren, tell us about your experiences when you go on set.
Well, fortunately, the show that I'm on is, everybody comes and brings their A game. And that starts with the lead of the show in that we have in Kevin Bacon. He's a wonderful lead as well. He leads, not boastfully, not loud, just he shows up, he's off book, he doesn't have his script, he's ready to go, and he leads with love with everybody he works with. So we do the same. But there are times when people show up, and I've been on other sets where people don't know their lines, and it holds up the whole production. And we've been on set for now 10 hours. I have a 4:30 pickup time tomorrow morning, and the crew has an early call as well. And the last thing anybody wants to do is to wait for you to figure out work that you should have done days ago, right? So that's hard, and it's not fun. But sometimes it happens. The other thing is sometimes life happens, right? And an actor comes and they are off their game. That's not necessarily, I don't see the same thing as being unprepared, but just off their game. And that's when you have to be a team player and let them know it is okay. And you're not looking at them like, I'm ready to go, but you're like, that's my castmate, that's my scene partner, and I'm supporting them. So if it's running lines on set between takes with them, then that's what it is,
So tell us the difference between film, TV, and theater, because we talked about this, and when we were talking about as an actor, you got to bring it on stage, but when the camera is right up on you, might have to pull it back. So talk to a little bit about that transition for you.
I think the transition from theater, because I have an immense amount of theater training, and I'm learning. I'm from Shepherd to Hillside to Howard to almost 20 years. You know what I mean? It's a long time. But that, I think, it was my great fortune in being prepared for the transition between theater and TV, for example, because in a play, you have to learn all your lines up front. For the whole 2 hours, you have to know all your lines on the day one, whereas TV happens a section at a time. But for me, I still learn my scripts in the same way. I learn all my lines, right? And so that really helped with my transition, because then I'm on TV or I'm doing the show, and I'm not going from moment to moment to moment, but I'm able to craft my performance, if you will, over the whole arc for my character. So I can make choices in the first 2 episodes that will have some kind of, a payoff later, right? Or if it's a film or something like that. Because some people also, because the film is shot scene by scene, by day, I approach film work in the same way. I learned the whole script. So that when I show up on day one, even if we're only doing 2 pages, I'm giving a performance that makes sense for page 59,
Right.
And I think the transition in terms of like the medium where theater is really big and you're in a 1,200 seat theater, like, the Wendell Tabb Theater, John H. Gaddis Wendell Tabb Theater. Is that what
there you go.
You're in a 1,200 seat theater like that.
Theater, get that plug in there now.
I mean, that's the name of the theater now, as far as I know. Okay. So when you're in a big theater like that, and you, even going to Howard, for example, I wasn't not intimidated by that transition, right? To go and perform. I also did a play at Central, I almost forgot, with Irving Truitt.
Oh yeah, Mr. Truitt, my mate.
Yeah, but even that transition, for example, I was a junior in high school doing a play with college students.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so the transition I'm saying is when you have to play to a 1,200 seat house, the truth has to hit the person on the front row as much as it hits the person all the way in the back. And you can't penetrate their heart or their mind or appeal to their intellect if the truth isn't resonating from you from the inside.
Right.
And so I think, you know, when you transition from a place like that, and then go to the screen, the truth is still palpable in you and you don't have to do much. It's actually easier to make the truth, because it's just like, oh, I know how to access the truth. And now I'm just going to allow my face for it to be seen on my face.
Exactly.
Versus doing the opposite. Yeah.
When we were talking about that tear coming from the eye, we were talking about, Mr. Tabb, we were talking about Denzel Washington and Howard E. Rollins in, what's the name of the film? Soldier Story.
Soldier Story, yeah.
When Howard E. Rollins at the very end was standing there at the window and that tear came down because he was upset that somebody black had killed the sergeant, because everybody said it was white people that did it, but it actually was a black man. And that kind of stuff really, really, it gets you. When you see it on screen, you say, man, that person can act. So, Mr. Tabb, one thing I like to share, Michelle, it's something beautiful to see 60 students on stage, quiet, before all of, tell them, Lauren, before all of Mr. Tabb's show, they are sitting on stage and they see high school students not talking, just silent. And if they say something, if somebody says something, Mr. Tabb.
Now, is this before the show, you said?
Yeah. Tell them why you do that, Mr. Tabb. Tell them why you do that.
Well, let's be clear that people don't think that the kids are being abused here.
Right, okay, yeah, no.
They're not. It's about process. You know, it's important to process before you begin.
Right.
The whole thing about meditation is so important to prepare yourself for what you are about to do. And sometimes just to sit there and just be quiet. You know, here again, I'm from the country, so I grew up with a lot of myths, you know, and you know, it's like when it used to be a storm or something, you know, my mom used to say, okay, y'all be quiet, you know, just be quiet. and so I always used to wonder why you need to be quiet. You got to be quiet. And I found myself taking all of that, what I've learned, you know, growing up, into my profession, because there are times when you just need to be quiet. And to meditate, and you need to put all your thoughts together, and you just need to hear the stillness of God. Just, you know, and just hear the little things that are going off in the theater, like the lights just popping or something, and you can hear all the little intricate things that you would never paid any attention to, because you are now focused. And so I think it's important for them to focus, because then they'll be ready. They'll be ready for prayer because their mind is clear, right? And then after prayer, they're ready for the performance. And so it's important. And that comes with discipline as well, that element of discipline. They don't always want to be quiet. You know, somebody's going to say something.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that's with anything. That's like teaching, you know. So I think it's important just for the element of meditation, and just being prepared.
So what would you give? I know that you were at the high school, so let's just say that you have adult learners. Have you ever provided like your expertise to those who are adults to say, hey, you know, maybe I want to give this a try, or where do I start?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I taught theater classes as an adjunct professor over at North Carolina Central in theater before as well. And so I would leave my rehearsals at 6:30 and run over to teach a 7 o'clock class at night in college. So, but what I found even with the adults is that they want to be engaged. You know, And so as I was teaching them, I had to bring them into that whole element of that. This is fun. This is exciting. What do you bring? What can you bring to this as well? So I remember doing a class and I was teaching costuming. It was a unit on costuming. And now, granted, I don't know nothing about no costuming. I just know the basic of what I'm supposed to know, but that's a unit. It's a unit in that you have to teach on costuming. So I brought in this mannequin. I gave her a name. You know, I called her Roxanne because there was a song out there talking about Roxanne, Roxanne. So I called the mannequin Roxanne, said, this is Roxanne. And they all laughed at that. And I said, so. And a lady raised her hand. She said, I know how to sew. I said, well, come on up here. She taught me.
Wow.
And she was so excited because I gave her an opportunity to be empowered. And she told them everything about sewing. She told them about the materials, different types of materials. And I was like, any questions? And the kids were asking her questions. And they told me afterward, they said, you are an amazing teacher. You are so good. I was like, well, thank you very much. But she did the teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I just orchestrated learning.
Yes.
Orchestrate learning. And so you learn yourself. So I learned so much. So, you know, and that's how you have to do it sometimes, you know, just engage them. So adults, they want to be engaged as well.
Right. Well, listen, Lauren, in this time of COVID, what are you doing now? You told me you did some writing, but we like to let our audience know what you're doing.
Well, believe it or not, it feels like a lot. I feel busy, very busy. You know, at the early parts of COVID, it was a lot of meditation, a lot of just being quiet with myself. And then that led me to go ahead and finish up some writing projects I was doing. So I just finished a feature film that I look forward to, that I've written. I'm working on writing a TV show with a classmate of mine from Hillside. Marquise Gibson is his name. Okay. And so we meet via Zoom every day and write together. And auditions have started back up. So just within COVID, that's happening. I directed a short film at the top of this year before COVID hit. So we just finished editing that and I have to send the credits over to the editor tomorrow. So it's busy meeting with people for projects in 2021 and 2022 are starting up. You know, those meetings are starting up now. So yeah, it's a lot.
So with you writing and directing, would you say this will be your, like, a hidden talent? Did you ever see yourself, like, during your journey, because I know maybe the first thought process, and I'm only guessing, that, hey, I want to be an actress, but as you grow and move forward, did you find any hidden talents? And if you have, do you think it's the writing and the directing? Say, hey, I want to give this a try.
Yeah, I mean, in the process, it definitely started as a young person, as a middle school and high school. I want to be an actor. My passion is acting. But even at Hillside, I assistant directed. I was the president of the drama club for my junior and senior year. So I was responsible for helping with producing the One Voice projects that we were doing around the city, writing, within those projects and writing my own work at Hillside. So it was once I got to Howard and I became the Howard Players president and producer for the Howard Players. And we were producing projects. I was producing projects that I wasn't also acting in, because that's what I did at Hillside. I acted in, was a part of assistant directing, but I found myself enjoying the process of producing just as much. And I think the aha moment was like, oh, I've been doing this all along. I've been acting, I've been writing, I've been directing all along. And then I said, oh, my passion isn't acting, my passion is storytelling. It's just being a storyteller. And I get to be a storyteller as a producer, I get to be a storyteller as a director. And I'm involved in making sure that the most strong, palpable, truthful, impactful story comes to life. So yeah, that's how that came about for sure.
Awesome.
Mr. Tabb, you have brought so many stars back to Durham. Talk about your connection with the movie industry and the TV industry and the National Black Theater Festival in New York. Go ahead, brother.
Well, it's so important that I think that my students are connected at a young point in their career to other people who have already paved the way, who's doing it, who can give them very valuable information, give them mentorship, and start off very young. So I thought it was very important that I connect my students with people that are already in the industry. Networking is something that people talk about in any profession. And why not, do your networking young, early, as opposed to waiting till they get out there and then they're trying to meet people. Well, my students have already met a lot of people in the industry, and I think that's important early on. The other thing to that, and Lauren kind of hit on it in networking, is they can network amongst themselves as well. Like she's working with Marquise. It's part of it. That's all a part of networking. With the celebrities, you need spokespeople. You need people to talk about your product. And the celebrities that are out there, they tell other people about our product. And people want to research us too. They're going to look, now with technology, you mentioned, well, Hillside has a wonderful theater program. Well, what are they going to do? Go Google it. And they're going to see, and when they go Google it, then Danny Glover pops up and Andre DeShields is going to pop up with him being Hillside. And it gives value. Now, all of a sudden, those people who didn't think it had value, now the program has value to them because, all of these people know about Andre Leon Talley, who's a graduate of Hillside. Come there and they do all these stories and articles on them being at Hillside. It opens doors for my students early on that they don't have to wait until after they've already done an MFA program. And then they're trying to go to different places to meet people. Well, they already have met these people. And now, also when these celebrities come to Hillside, the people who've already graduated are going to run back into these same people. And then that's a conversation piece. Now Lauren Banks can say, oh, you were at Hillside. You were at my school. Oh, you went to Hillside too? So it's in this industry, people are looking for the end conversational piece. And I think having the celebrities here to motivate kids and will also open doors for them. And I think that's an important part of growth and learning and collaboration.
Like Starletta Du Bois just loved your program. She tells everybody.
Absolutely. Babatunde and
Babatunde.
I don't want to start naming people, then you leave out all these.
Yeah, right.
Margaret Shook Avery being there, and see, now you're making me try to think of all the people that have been there.
Right, I know.
I did a film with
Huggy Bear.
Antonio Fargas.
Right, Antonio. I still talk to Antonio. He invites me out to Las Vegas, and I went out to Las Vegas to see one of his shows. But from the just us connecting, and Andre DeShields will send us a note.
Right.
On us, and and with him winning the Tony, now my kids were like, hey, Andre DeShields, he came to Hillside, he was walking down the street in Durham with us,
Right.
So I think it's important, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work to coordinating it all. And I think people have to understand that the bigger you want your program, the more work you're going to have to put in it.
Right.
And I think sometimes people want results, but they don't want to put in the time and effort to get the results. So I'm not saying that we do all of this, but I'm saying that there is a commitment that you have to make. And I made that commitment a long time ago that if I'm going to do it, let's do it all the way.
Right. And wasn't it special when Lauren came with all the celebrities, and here's Lauren up there with all of them? I mean, I was just tickled. Like, I knew it when she was.
Exactly. Well, it's kind of like when you go to the National Black Theater Festival.
Right.
You can see people walking around at the Black Theater Festival and they're handing out their stuff and, you know, trying to meet producers and directors and whatever. And you can go back the next year and now they're the celebrity.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like that with when the students come back to Hillside. You know, they can leave on the stage at Hillside. I already see them as my celebrities. They're already celebrities when they're on the stage. Other people may not know that, but I know that. They're already celebrities. But then when they come back, they're just coming home, you know, just to another warm welcome, but they've been celebrities all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
That is.
So, Michelle, you got any final thoughts to ask?
Yes. So as we ask our guests who comes onto the show, can you give us 2 advice for those who are watching, whether they're our seniors or our young ones, how they can become an actor and what should they do to prepare for that step?
Well, I'll give one, and then we'll tag team Mr. Tabb. Then I'll go.
Whatever you want.
I would highly encourage young people, older, young and old, anybody who wants to be a creator, who is an artist and wants to continue to be a professional artist and continue to grow their work. It's so important. I mean, Mr. Tabb kind of just spoke to it, but it's so important that you invest in yourself and that you write your own things and that you create your own product, if you will, because I think the biggest misconception about this industry is that it's an industry that has to point you out and pick you out and then just bring you into it and then things happen. But it's really like, it's I feel like the film industry, the TV industry is so much like a, almost like a farmer's market. It's like everybody has their own little product, their own little booth. And then people go through and like, I want to shop over here, shop over here. And you really are the CEO of your own business, whether you're in the industry or outside of the industry. So the sooner you get that, the better. Because again, I'm working on a TV show with my friend that I'll be shopping to networks, you know, and once you have one job, it doesn't mean that you're going to have another job. So it makes sense that you are preparing for your next job at every turn. And whether you are a student in Durham, North Carolina right now, or, you know, a graduate of a major program in LA, there's always going to be somebody looking to buy new content and fresh content and true content. And you can create that from wherever you are. You can be in Bangladesh, you know, create something that is true and real and people are moved by it. There's a market for it. And you don't have to have 1 million followers on Instagram and a big agent to make that happen, but you have a good product and then you get it out there and then you connect with people and that can help, you know, open those doors. But yeah.
Awesome.
You see, you have to go second because Lauren, everything that I was going to say, Lauren just said, I know Mr. Tabb's going to say this, so I'm going to go ahead and say this.
But that's good teaching though.
Right.
I knew exactly what she was going to say. I said, she's going to say this right here. And she said, one of the other things, and I have so many, so you say it too, so that's an easy thing because you have to teach so much. But one thing that's so important is I tell the students, don't let anybody else validate your success.
Right.
That's important. And and I think that a lot of people, especially artists, are finding that out now because with this COVID going on, so many we're dependent. You know, we're dependent on other people doing stuff for them. Right. Now they're at a standstill going, okay, well, what am I worth? What is my value worth now? What do I do? Because I'm at a standstill. And you're finding people being more creative now. They're trying to figure out, well, I'm talented. I'm gifted. I
Right.
can do, well, I'll start this now. I'll do that. And that's what I've been doing all the time. Don't wait for anybody else to validate your success. You go for it and you do your own writing, you do your own producing, you do your directing, and bring people along with you. Bring people along with you. Don't think that you have to do it all by yourself, that it has to be all you. People who have supported you, go back and pull them back up.
That's right.
It's very important. So that's my first one. Don't let anybody else validate your success. Go, Lauren.
Okay, well, funny, Mr. Tabb, I was going to say that. I was going to say
Right.
No, but I think, yeah, I think that's highly important. And I think I just want to add on, like, yeah, creating your own definition of what success is for you has been so important to speak to what Mr. Tabb is saying. It's been really important to define what success is for me. And for me, success is doing work that I believe in with people that I believe in.
Yes.
And I can do that in LA and Hollywood. I can do that in Durham, North Carolina on Fayetteville Street. You know what I mean? Like, and I will be successful and I will be happy wherever I am. So, but if I am in LA doing work that I don't believe in with people I don't believe in, I won't be successful. And if I'm not doing that back at home, I'm also not successful. So that's, to Mr. Tabb's point, defining your own success. I just strongly encourage people to create a 5-year plan. No matter where you are. I think, my senior book, ironically, created a 5-year plan for me, right? I had to fill out what do you want to do then and what do you want to do next? And one day I look at the senior book and I'm like, oh, I said in high school that I was going to be involved with the Howard Players. Wait, what? I said that. Spelling things out, cast a spell on the universe sometimes. And that's important to know. So once I realized that, I very intentionally created a 5-year plan in high school that I saw what I was going to go do beyond. Intentionally created a 5-year plan in college. And then once I got to college, I very intentionally created a 5-year plan for in grad school. And I look back and I'm like, oh, I did that thing. Oh, I did that. Or I wasn't specific enough about that, and being specific and holding yourself to deadlines for your product is important, just because it's so easy to get lost. It's so easy to look up and 3 years later, you're like, what have I done?
Right.
With my craft, with my goals and the things that I believe in and I want for myself. But if you have something to hold your own self accountable, it's so helpful. And then when things take off in a great direction, but it's not according to your 5-year plan, you can look at your plan and say, oh, well, I got all of these resources. Now let me look at my plan and see what else I wanted to do for myself. Or I don't have anything going on. Let me look at my plan and create my own schedule for myself. So having a 5-year plan.
Yeah, you know what? I tell my students all the time, because when I was out in Los Angeles and before I got into TV, I worked in a plant and I hated the job. And I was like, what do I want to really be in? I want to be in radio and TV. So I went to school, I dropped that job, got a GI Bill, went to school and got a degree in radio, TV, film, was in radio for 20 years, was in TV for 20 years. Love my job. And that's what students need to understand, that you are going to school so that you can get into a career that you love doing.
Absolutely. That
you, by the way, get paid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you don't also get lost in thinking everything has to be so instant. Sometimes it is like part of your 5-year plan is working at a plant for a year, saving up a whole lot of money, and then going to go do that other thing. And you're not deterring from your plan, right? You're not deterring from your path just because you're not doing something, within your gift. So.
Within it.
Michelle, final words.
My number 2. You don't want my number 2?
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
I want your number 2.
You don't want my
I
number
gave
2?
5, Mrs. Tabb. That's why. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. You're good. You want my number 2? I think it's important that we take care of ourselves physically and mentally.
Absolutely.
Right.
So important. We have to understand that this is a stressful industry, and we don't need to take on unnecessary stresses. And sometimes if we take care of ourselves mentally and physically, you know, it's a much easier process to go through all of this when you do that, when you make it that you're eating right, when you make sure that that you are that you are thinking about your body both physically and mentally. And a lot of times, especially with the young actors and actresses and behind the scenes person that I teach, thing becomes a big thing for them. And what I have to tell them sometimes, take a step back. That's not that important.
Right.
Let's kind of walk through that. Let's walk through that. Now, was that really something just to send you off the edge? And now you mad the rest of the day because of that? So I think it's important that I have to keep teaching them that, and so that as they go through this process, that they are better prepared mentally and physically. Very important.
All right. Well, next week we're taking a week off, just like you said. You got to be it's the 4th of July weekend, and so we're going to replay this for folks that didn't get to see it. And then on July 12th, we have scheduled the cast of The Dance on Widow's Row. And we have the whole cast here, and we're going to talk about that play, which was Agape Theater Project's May 2019 play. And we'll get a chance to meet the director and the entire cast. So it's been nice talking to both of you. And April said she will join us on another time when we bring y'all back. But it's been great.
Yes.
So, Michelle.
I just want to say thank you both. Thank you to the both of you for taking the time out. Lauren, you're such a busy woman, and hats off to you. We wish you all the best in everything that you do. Mr. Tabb, the legend. One day I'm going to confirm and physically meet you, Mr. Tabb. But I definitely want to say, continue to sow into your community and sow into your students. We don't see it too often in the forefront. But again, thank you so much for the both of you for taking the time out to be with us on Theater Talk. Agape. Oh, wow.
All right.
That's April and I.
Oh, good. Okay, April.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
You know what year that was?
Was that doing Dream Girls?
Yeah, okay.
That was doing when I did Dream Girls, and I brought them back.
That was my first play, and then she had come back 10 years later from when she did it originally.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff right there. Well, thank you, Mr. Tabb. Thank you, Lauren. And thank you, Michelle. And we will see you guys later and next time on Theater Talk Live. Take care.
Right, thank you. Love you, Lauren.
Love you too. Bye.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, bye.